Hare Krishna devotees. So today's shloka is shloka number 6 of chapter 7. Etad yonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham kritsnasya jagataha prabhavav pralayastatha etad yonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham kritsnasya jagataha prabhavav pralayastatha etadyonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham kritsnasya jagataha prabhavav pralayastatha. Please recite after me. Etadyonini bhutani
Etadonini bhutani
sarvani tyupadharaya
sarvani tyupadharaya
aham kritsnasya jagataha
aham krishnasya jagataha
prabhavav pralayastatha etadyonini bhutani
etadonini bhutani
sarvani tyupadharaya
sarvani tyupadharaya
aham kritsnasya jagataha
aham krishnasya
prabhavav pralayastatha etadyonini bhutani
etadonini bhutani
sarvani tyupadharaya
sarvani tyupadharaya
aham kritsnasya jagataha
aham krishnasya jagataha
bhavav pralayastatha
prabhavav pralayastha.
Word for word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Etat, these two natures, Yonini,
Yonini,
whose source of birth,
whose source of birth,
Bhutani,
Bhutani,
everything created,
everything created,
Sarvani,
Sarvani,
all, Iti,
Iti,
thus,
thus,
Upadharaya,
Upadharaya,
no,
no,
Aham,
aham,
I,
I,
Kritsnasya,
Krishnasya,
all inclusive, Jagataha,
Jagataha,
of the world,
of the world,
Prabhavaha,
Prabhava,
the source of manifestation,
the source of manifestation,
Pralayaha,
Pralaya,
annihilation,
annihilation,
Tatha,
Tatha,
as well as.
as well as
Translation. All created beings
all created beings
have their source
have their source
in these two natures.
in these two natures
Of all that is material
of all that is material
and all that is spiritual in this world,
and all that is spiritual in this world,
know for certain
know for certain
that I am both the origin
that I am both the origin
and the dissolution.
and the dissolution.
So, in the previous two shlokas that we read, the Lord talked about how He is the source of all matter, and He talks about the 8 separated energies. And then He also speaks about His superior energy, the Jivatma, that is actually manipulating the inferior energy matter to make everything possible. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that everything that exists that we see around us is simply a product of matter and spirit. And Prabhupada explains that spirit is the basic field of creation, which means creation cannot happen without spirit exercising some control over matter. Therefore, all of matter is actually created by spirit. But spirit has always existed. Spirit didn't suddenly come into being through the process of creation. So Prabhupada explains that this material body itself is developed because the spirit is present within this matter. The soul is residing within this body, and therefore the body undergoes changes. If the soul was not within the body would simply be an inert object. Similarly, Prabhupada explains the entire cosmic manifestation is developed because of the presence of the super soul, Vishnu. Therefore, both spirit and matter originate in Lord Vishnu. And therefore, the Lord is the cause of everything there is. He is the cause of all matter, and He is the cause of all spirit. So Prabhupada uses an analogy saying that a man may be the cause of a big skyscraper building, a big factory, or even a big city, but he cannot be the cause of the big universe. The cause of the big universe, Prabhupada says, is the big soul, the super soul. And finally, Prabhupada concludes, and Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is the cause of both the big soul and the small souls, which means Krishna is the cause of Vishnu, as Vishnu is the cause of all of the small souls. So ultimately, Krishna is the cause of everything. Therefore, Krishna is considered the original cause of all causes. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So when the Lord decides to create, well, actually the process I will just describe briefly. So now that we've understood that all of creation is just a manifestation of the Lord's various energies, inferior energy as well as the superior energy in the form of Jivatma. So one cycle of the Lord's creation lasts for 100 years of Brahma. So once creation has started, it is maintained for that 100 years of Brahma. And then the Supreme Lord begins the process of dissolution. Pralayaha, the Lord describes in this particular shloka. So what happens when dissolution takes place? The 5 gross elements, earth, water, air, fire, ether, merges into the 5 subtle elements, which in turn merges into Ahankar. Ahankar goes back into Mahan, which again unites with Prakriti. And now Prakriti resides inside the body of Mahavishnu. And all the materially bound souls, which could not get liberated during this cycle of creation, they also go back into resting stage in the Lord's body. And they stay there until the Lord begins the cycle of creation again. So when the Lord decides to create, the entire cycle begins all over again, as the Lord has already described in Shloka 4. And a new world comes into existence. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the source, He is the sustainer, and He is the resting place for entire creation. Therefore, everything originates in the Supreme Lord, everything is maintained by the Supreme Lord, and everything is dissolved by the Supreme. So that is what the Lord is explaining, that ultimately He is the cause of all causes.